At 78, Sally Field names the 6 actors she hated. Sally Field was born Sally Margaret Field on November 6, 1946 in Pasadena, California. Her mom was actress Margaret Field, and her dad was Army officer Richard Dryden Field. She grew up around acting and entertainment. After her parents split up, her mom married actor and stuntman Jock Mahoney, which brought young Sally even closer to the Hollywood world. But even with these early connections, she didn't just get handed her success, she earned it through her talent, hard work, and her strong desire to be seen as a real artist. Field's career started in the early 1960s, when she was young and full of energy. That matched the feeling of that time. She got her first TV role in the popular sitcom Gidget from 1965 to 1966, playing a fun-loving teenager who loved surfing and dealing with everyday problems. The show didn't last long, but it made her super famous right away. Soon after, she starred in The Flying Nun from 1967 to 1970, a silly comedy where she played Sister Bertrille, a young nun whose outfit let her actually fly through the air. Even though the show was a hit and showed off her funny side, Field later admitted she had a hard time with the role because she worried it made people think she could only play simple, cheerful characters. Those early years were really tough for her. She didn't want to just be the happy girl on TV. She wanted to be a serious actress who could show deep feelings and emotions. Wanting to change how people saw her, Field started taking serious acting classes at the famous Actors Studio with the legendary teacher Lee Strasberg. This training completely changed how she acted, and in many ways, who she was as a person. This time of learning and growing as an artist helped her get her big dramatic role in the 1976 TV movie Sybil, where she played a woman dealing with multiple personality disorder. Her acting was scary, detailed, and totally groundbreaking for TV at that time. Both critics and viewers were amazed, and Field's performance won her an Emmy Award, and the serious respect she had been working so hard to get Sybil showed the world, and maybe Sally herself, that she was way more than just a sitcom star. She was an actress with incredible emotional skill and bravery. The late 1970s and 1980s made Sally Field a true Hollywood legend. Her work with director Martin Ritt in Norma Rae from 1979 and Murphy's Romance from 1985 made her one of Hollywood's most respected actors. In Norma Rae, she played a Southern factory worker who becomes a surprising union leader. The role was tough, bold, and inspiring, and her performance won her the Academy Award for Best Actress. When she went on stage to accept the Oscar, her honest emotion and realness showed exactly what her career was all about, one based on truth. Just a few years later, she won a second Oscar for Places in the Heart from 1984, proving that her first big win wasn't just lucky. Throughout her career, Field showed she could do all kinds of roles. She made people smile in romantic comedies like Smokey and the Bandit from 1977 with Burt Reynolds, made hearts break in the sad movie Steel Magnolias from 1989, and gave complicated performances in movies like Mrs. Doubtfire from 1993, Forrest Gump from 1994, and Lincoln from 2012. Each role showed a different part of being human, like warmth, strength, humor, and a spirit that never gives up. Her TV work stayed just as impressive, winning praise for Brothers and Sisters and ER, showing that she could be just as amazing on TV as she was in big movies. After decades of entertaining audiences on both TV and in movies, Sally Field made an awesome comeback to regular TV shows in 2018 with a performance that reminded everyone why she's still one of Hollywood's most respected and loved actresses. That year, she took a main role in the mind-bending Netflix miniseries Maniac, a darkly funny show about mental health, technology, and human relationships. Field's acting showed off her range, mixing quiet humor with deep emotional layers, proving that even after more than 50 years in the business, her talent keeps getting better with time. Never one to stop working, Field kept her TV comeback going in 2020 with another praised project, AMC's Dispatches from Elsewhere. The series, known for its imaginative storytelling and deep themes, had Field playing a role that mixed being vulnerable with being wise, a mix only she could pull off so naturally. Her detailed performance stood out even with a talented group of actors, proving again her reputation as someone who can turn even the most unusual scripts into deeply real human stories. By 2023, Sally Field once again showed her amazing abilities, this time going back to movie theaters for a happy and heartwarming project that brought together different generations of movie fans. She was in the hit comedy 80 for Brady, a feel-good movie based on a true story about four best friends who go on a funny adventure to watch their football hero NFL legend Tom Brady play in the Super Bowl. Working with an incredible cast of fellow Hollywood icons, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Rita Moreno, Field brought charm, humor, and emotional depth to the movie, reminding audiences that friendship, laughter, and dreams don't get old. The connection among the four leading ladies became one of the movie's most loved parts, showing the lasting power and appeal of experienced women in Hollywood. Sally Field's love life, much like her amazing career, has been full of moments of deep feelings, change, and looking for lasting love. Throughout her life, the famous actress, known for showing both vulnerability and strength perfectly, went through two important marriages that shaped her as both a person and a professional. Her first marriage was to Stephen Craig, a relationship that started in 1968 when Sally was still starting out in her Hollywood journey. At that time, she was mainly known for her first TV role in Gidget from 1965 to 1966, and her loved character Sister Bertrille in The Flying Nun from 1967 to 1970. Marrying Craig meant for Field a time of hope and stability during the crazy ride of fame that had come when she was barely an adult. The marriage gave them two sons, Peter and Eli Craig, who would both later follow creative careers of their own, Peter becoming a respected screenwriter and producer, and Eli going into acting and filmmaking. Even though her growing family brought happiness at home, Field often struggled with trying to balance being a mom with a quickly growing acting career. By the early 1970s, as she started to change herself into a serious actress beyond light TV comedies, the marriage started to have problems because of competing priorities and the emotional stress of fame. The couple ended up divorcing in 1975 after 7 years of marriage, ending Sally's first try at building a lasting relationship while dealing with the unpredictable world of Hollywood. After several years of focusing really hard on her career and getting critical praise for her roles in Sybil from 1976 and Norma Rae from 1979, Sally Field started another important part of her personal life. In 1984, she married film producer Alan Greisman, whose behind-the-scenes knowledge of the industry gave her a sense of partnership that was both creative and deeply personal. Their relationship started during a time when Field had become one of Hollywood's most respected and versatile actresses. Celebrated for her Oscar-winning performances and her commitment to complex, emotionally charged roles. Together, Sally and Alan welcomed a son, Samuel Greisman, in 1987, bringing a new sense of joy and family into her life. Field often said motherhood was her most fulfilling role, and her close relationship with her children has stayed one of the most important parts of her personal happiness, but, like with her first marriage, problems eventually came up. By the early 1990s, the demands of two busy careers and the natural changes in their relationship led to growing distance between Sally and Alan. The couple divorced in 1994 after 10 years of marriage. Though the breakup was painful, Field has spoken openly about how each part of her life, whether in love, work, or family, has helped her grow as a woman and artist. She came out of her marriages not disappointed, but more self-aware, using her life experiences in the emotionally rich performances that have defined her later career. Over the span of her amazing career, Sally Field has become one of Hollywood's most loved and respected actresses. With 2 Academy Awards, 3 Primetime Emmys, and decades of unforgettable performances, she is often admired not only for her talent, but for her honesty. Now at 78, Field's truthfulness has once again made headlines, this time for revealing the 6 actors she absolutely hated working with. Known for her warmth and professionalism, Field's decision to open up about these difficult working relationships has both surprised and fascinated fans who have followed her from her early sitcom days to her dramatic successes on the big screen. When asked during an interview to think back on her long career, Field didn't hesitate to admit that not every co-star experience was nice. "You learn that talent doesn't always equal kindness," she explained. "Some people make the set feel like home, and others make it feel like a battlefield." The actress, who started her career in the 1960s with the cheerful series Gidget and the Flying Nun, confessed that her positivity was often tested by a handful of Hollywood's biggest names. Without revealing everything at once, Field carefully went through her list, explaining why certain personalities clashed so badly with her own. The first name on her list was Tommy Lee Jones, her co-star in the 1981 film Back Roads. "Tommy was brilliant," Field said, "but he had this intensity that could fill up a room completely. He was moody, unpredictable, and often shut everyone out. It wasn't personal, but working with him was exhausting." She described how their on-screen chemistry was strained because Jones liked very little communication between takes. "He wasn't cruel," she clarified, "just completely detached. I was young and eager to connect, and he was a wall I couldn't climb." Next, she mentioned Burt Reynolds, with whom she shared both a romantic and professional relationship. Their passionate yet troubled connection during the filming of Smokey and the Bandit became the stuff of Hollywood legend. Burt could charm the world, she admitted, but he could also be incredibly controlling. Field confessed that while their chemistry was undeniable on screen, behind the scenes it was marked by emotional tension. "I loved him deeply," she continued, "but loving him was like holding on to lightning. It's beautiful, but it burns." Field's third difficult collaboration came with James Garner during Murphy's Romance. Though audiences adored their on-screen partnership, Field revealed that the experience was far from smooth. "James had a gruffness about him that made it hard to know where you stood," she said. "He didn't mean to be unkind, but he wasn't easy to please. We had to find common ground, and it took a while." However, she added that over time their respect for each other grew even if their personalities never fully aligned. Then came her surprising mention of Val Kilmer, with whom she briefly worked in the 1990s. "Val was one of the most gifted actors I'd ever met," Field explained, "but he was trapped in his own perfectionism. Every scene had to be dissected, analyzed, rebuilt, and by the end of the day, everyone was exhausted." She shared that Kilmer's need for control often led to tension on set, making collaboration nearly impossible. "He was an artist in turmoil," she noted. "You couldn't hate him, but you couldn't survive him either." The fifth actor she spoke about was Marlon Brando, whom she met late in his career. Brando was a legend, but legends can be lonely, she said thoughtfully. "He tested people, sometimes cruelly, just to see how they would react. He'd push your buttons, then smile as if to say, 'See, you're just like everyone else.' Working with him taught me patience, but it also taught me that genius doesn't excuse cruelty." Finally, Field mentioned a name that truly shocked fans: Dustin Hoffman. She and Hoffman had crossed paths during the 1970s when both were rising stars. Dustin was meticulous to the point of madness, Field recalled. He'd question every line, every gesture, and if you didn't meet his standards, he'd let you know it. Although she acknowledged his extraordinary dedication to craft, she admitted that his arrogance often made her feel small. "He could be brilliant," she said, "but he could also be unbearable. I respected him as an artist, but I couldn't stand him as a colleague." Despite the frankness of her remarks, Field made it clear that she harbors no lasting resentment. "At this stage of my life, I don't hold grudges," she stated. "Every difficult person taught me something valuable about acting, about boundaries, and about myself." Her reflections reveal a woman who has not only survived Hollywood's pressures, but has learned to thrive within them, embracing both the beauty and the bitterness of her craft. Today, as she looks back at her 6-decade career, Sally Field continues to embody grace, honesty, and strength. Her willingness to speak the truth, whether about her own struggles or the people who challenged her most, proves why she remains one of Hollywood's most admired figures. The work matters more than the drama, she concluded. You take the pain, you take the joy, and you make art out of both.